Kyle Synder, the junior from Ohio State, has just about done it all before reaching his senior year of college. A 2015 world champion at the age of 19, the youngest American to do that. He then took that, the American flag, and represented it exceptionally well. He won an NCAA championship. Looking for his second this year, and he's only wrestled in 16 matches this year because of his dedication to international competition, which brought him a gold medal this past summer for the United States at 97 kilos in Rio de Janeiro.
Snyder's here on the Sports Spectrum podcast. So let's talk about adversity, because you go 179-0. So when do you experience that first loss, and what was that like? And did faith come into play to help you deal, I guess, with that first loss in a way that maybe you couldn't have dealt with it otherwise?
Yeah, for sure. So my whole life, I wanted to be a 4-time NCAA college champion. So I had a pretty successful freshman year in college. I lost 3 times my freshman year, but even though I had lost the match, I still had that like hope of, I can still be a 4-time NCAA champ. It's not like I just lost a dual meet, but I can still win at the NCAAs when it really counts.
Right.
So then I made it to the NCAA finals my freshman year, and I was wrestling a guy from Iowa State who I had wrestled during the season, and I was winning the match 1-0 in the second period, and I was in on his leg, and then he kind of got his leg out, threw me to my back right after that, and pinned me. So the match was over just like that. And that was pretty difficult for me. And when I think about adversity, I mean, like losing a wrestling match seems very low on the
but it's your life in a lot of ways, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like, I thank the Lord, my family was healthy, and I didn't have any close friends that really died or relatives that died, and all these different tragic things that happened to me. Like the worst thing that's happened to me is like losing a wrestling match. But
yeah, no, I hear you though.
Yeah. So then throughout that time period from my senior year of high school to then, I was growing in my faith. And my strength coach, who I look up to a ton, he has a really strong faith. His name's Neil Serafinas. And I was talking to him. I was really upset after the match, and I'm a pretty, happy dude. Like to talk a lot, but I was quiet. I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I wanted to just be by myself. And I remember talking to him on the phone, and he was like, well, you know what you got to do now, right? And I was like, no, I don't know. And he was like, well, I'll tell you what you got to do. You got to commit your life fully to Christ. And I was like, okay. So, and I knew what commitment was because I had competed at a high level in wrestling. So, and I could look at my walk with Christ and my level of commitment to wrestling, and wrestling was way, way higher than the way that I think about my faith. So I knew there was something wrong with that, but I just wasn't really willing to fix it. But then I think after that loss and after receiving guidance from my strength coach, I was like, yeah, why don't I try it? Why don't I start to think more about Christ and a little less about wrestling? And why don't I actually start to read the Bible? And why don't I actually start to pray and not just rely on other people to give me information? So I started doing that. And I've just been maturing and growing ever since. And it's all God's work, not my work. And yeah.
And then the next 3 years, okay, you weren't a 4-time NCAA champion, but you were a 3-time NCAA champion. So you were able to go and win the next 3 years at Ohio State. But I really want to focus on 2016 for you, because that was a pretty good year for you. Lots of great things happening. You were just 20 years old. You won an NCAA national championship, a world championship, and then become the youngest American ever to win an Olympic gold medal in wrestling. Obviously a great year for you as far as being on the mat and as far as achievement goes. But what was that year like for you spiritually, I wonder? Like how did 2016 define you or refine you as a man of faith, not just with the success that you had on the mat?
Right. Yeah. So it was a great year wrestling, and it was also a great year spiritually. And I give a lot of that. Of course, all the credit goes to God, but also the people that he placed in my life. So there were 6 guys on the Olympic team, and we had like 5 coaches. All 5 coaches were believers, really strong in their faith, and 5 out of the 6 guys on the team were believers, really strong and open in their faith. So it was like, even though I was competing and I was having a lot of success, I was surrounded by people who didn't value me because of my success.
That's good.
So yeah, so it was easy for me to stay really grounded and continue to think about what was important, because that's what everybody was doing. If everybody was building me up and saying, "Oh, Kyle, you're so amazing. You're doing all these great things. I just want to be around you because you're winning all these matches," then maybe I would have fell into some of that stuff. But my parents and my training partners and coaches and teammates, they're all just like, "Man, God blessed you with a victory. Awesome. Praise the Lord." And, that's great.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we celebrated, but it wasn't like anything crazy or anything for me to like start feeling self-righteous about. So, but I did, one of the things that was weird for me that, so I would say in my freshman year is when I kind of fully understood what commitment to Christ was, but it was interesting. Like, I would really study the Bible really hard before I competed. And then after I competed, I would kind of like not read as much, not pray as much, because I was like, if I read really hard before I wrestle, then God will bless me with victories, which is a crazy way to think. So, and I started realizing I was doing that. So then I had just continue to, if I was going to study hard before I wrestled, I want to study hard the next day and thank God and pray the day after that. Just always commit to Him and always be thankful. So every year it's been years of growth, and so every year's been great since then.
That 2016 year, though, I have to imagine